We'll start by chanting Om 3 times, followed by the invocation mantras. Inhale deeply. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanao Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vedvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्. Hari Om everyone. Welcome to Kathopanishad, series of discussions with Shankara Bhashyam. I know some of you are very new to this group. So my name is Venkat Pula. I have studied Vedanta under Swami Advayananda ji of Chinmaya Mission, based out of Kochi in Kerala. The very fact that it is Shankara Bhashyam means that we follow Advaita Vedanta tradition, and that's what we discuss. Okay, that is the line of thought process that we have. Now, some of you are very familiar with Vedanta and studied some Upanishads, etc. already. And in that, because of that, you already know some of the things that I'm going to talk today. Okay? But on the other hand, some of you, at least as far as I know, are very new to Upanishads, and this is the first Upanishad that you are studying. So because of that, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to introduce a little bit about Vedas, what Vedas are, and what Upanishads are, and then we'll go from there. The source book for our Hinduism are Vedas. I mean, like when we talk about Christianity, it is Bible. When it is Islam, it is Quran, like that. And then when we talk about Hinduism, we typically say we have a whole library, not a single book. But all of these books, whether it is Bhagavad Gita, Ramayana, Mahabharata, all of that, all 18 different Puranas and several different Dharma Shastras, etc., they all come from primary source books called Vedas. Veda, in our tradition, Veda means whatever is to be known, Vidyate, whatever is to be known, that is Veda. Veda are also called as Shruti. Shruti means whatever is heard. Whatever is heard is Shruti, means these Vedas are not written by any single person or a group of people. Rather, they are heard by great Mahatmas, whom we call as mantra drashtas or rishis, when they are in deep meditation. For example, a simple thing is that if you have a radio around you and you turn it on. Now, if you tune it to some FM channel, FM has several different channels, right? FM mode. When you tune it on to, let us say, 95.1, I don't know, like depending on different regions, whether 95.1 exists or not, but let us say 95.1 is tuned on. And as soon as you tune in, jazz music comes. And when you tune to 95.5, classical music comes. 95.9, some other pop, hip hop, like that, different musics, news, etc. All of those come. Now, when the radio is turned off, what happened? While the radio is turned off, all that music is, all those news and music is already around you. Whether you realize it or not, it is around you because of transmission. Okay? Now, it so happened that when you tune that instrument to a particular frequency, that information is caught and it is experienced. In the same way, these Mahatmas, these Mantradrashtas, when they are in their deep meditation, they have got these mantras that were there existing in our universe from the beginning of the time. And as and when they catch those mantras, they codified it and they said that this is what we heard. That is what is Shruti. For example, Gayatri Mantra. The Rishi for Gayatri Mantra is Vishwamitra, sage Vishwamitra. And similarly, for Mahamrutyunjaya Mantra, it is, I was thinking about his name, but I forgot, Markandeya Rishi, sorry. Okay. So, like this, all of these mantras are caught. So, these are not very much different from what our discoveries, not inventions, but discoveries. For example, we say that Isaac Newton discovered law of gravity. Law of gravity is discovered by Isaac Newton, but that law of gravity existed even before Isaac Newton, even though we give credit to him. So, in our parlance, he is the Rishi for gravitational force. Now, there is a difference between our rishis and Isaac Newton's example. In case of Isaac Newton, when he described his findings, he used his own words. Okay? I mean, they're right words, but that knowledge, the written words are his words about an experience that happened, about a discovery that he made. But whereas in case of these rishis, they did not use their own words, rather they just simply told what they heard. Now this way, this Veda, this Vedic knowledge that was there across India, was there all over, and all of this knowledge, this body of knowledge was called as Veda. Now, because this Vedic knowledge was so huge, sage Vyasa, towards the end of the Dwapara Yuga, he decided that this knowledge must be preserved for future generations, and he was a great visionary and seer, and he realized that the generations that are going to come, they may not be able to hold on to this knowledge so easily. So what he did is that he actually brought all this Vedic knowledge and wrote it and classified it into 4 books. And thus we have 4 different Vedas called as Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Sama Veda, and Atharva Veda. Now, sometimes, because while we are talking about these names of Vedas, sometimes you may hear that there is Vedatrayi. There's a term called Vedatrayi. Vedatrayi means three Vedas. Rik, Yajus, Sama. And then there is a notion within our India, among the studied people, among the educated people, that Atharva Veda is not a real Veda, but it's a later edition. But the traditionalists, our Guru Parampara, says that that is not true. When Vedatrayi, the term Vedatrayi is used, usually they say Rik, Yajus, Sama. Rik means poetry. Yajus means prose. And Sama means songs. So these are the only three different forms through which anything can be written, in which anything can be written. Now, when you say Rig Veda, it is primarily poetry, but there is also prose content. Yajurveda primarily prose, but it also has poetry. Okay, so like that, all of them have their own thing. So that way, even though there are four Vedas. Sometimes when you see Vedatrayi, that means three forms of Veda. That's how we should understand. Once sage Vedavyasa wrote all of these four, I mean, like not wrote, sorry, compiled all these four Vedas, what he did is that he gave one Veda each to his students, to each student, and asked them to spread it across the country. So across the country means they need to go to four different directions. So one of his disciples, Paila, he took Rigveda and he spread it over primarily in northern India. Another Shishya, Vaishampayana, he took Yajurveda and spread primarily in southern India. I'm using the important word is primarily. Okay, I'll tell you why. Samaveda is distributed mostly in eastern India, and Atharva Veda has gone to the western India all the way to Afghanistan, India, which is done by Sumantu. And Samaveda was propagated by Jaimini Rishi. Now, why did I say primarily? Because even though this is where the primary distribution of Vedas are done, it is not like there are no Vedas in that region. There could be some people who have studied two Vedas, in which case they were honored with a title called Dvivedi, one who has studied two Vedas. One who studied three Vedas were called as Trivedi, one who studied four Vedas were called as Chaturvedi. So understand that all four Vedas are available across all parts of the greater India at that time, except that it predominantly each of them were in some specific area. Now, when these Vedas are distributed, now each Veda has got several branches, meaning they have taught it to different students in different, slightly different variations and styles, and each different style is, in English, we use the term recension. The Sanskritam term is Shaka. Now, Rigveda is supposed to have 21 shakhas, out of which we have one shakha available today and some fragments of second shakha is there. So Shakala shakha is available and Bashkala shakha is available in bits and pieces. Rest 19 are gone. Yajurveda is said to be 101 different recensions, out of which about 5 or 6 shakhas are available now. Now, Samaveda was supposed to have, it says 1,000 shakhas. So when they say 1,000 shakhas, please we don't need to take it as exactly 1,000 number. It means that there are a lot of shakhas we can understand. Okay. And among those lot of shakhas, only 3 to 4 shakhas are available right now. And Atharva, out of 9 shakhas that were originally available there, 2 of them are available now. So in total, out of about 1100 so shakhas of knowledge, we have got 11 to 13 shakhas. So that is what we have is 1% of what we had. These are the Vedas. Now, how are these Vedas divided? Vedas primarily talk about two areas. And one is called as Dharma and second is called as Brahma. Dharma is what is my Dharma and what I should do and how I should live. All of that is part of Dharma. And primary goal is Brahma. Brahma means supreme reality. So how do I attain that supreme reality is the final ultimate goal of Vedas. These are the two subjects. Now, the way they do it is that in Vedas, there are 3 specific areas called as Karma Kanda, then Upasana Kanda, and third one is Jnana Kanda. It doesn't mean that 1000-page book, first 300 pages is Karma Kanda, second set of 300 or 400 is Upasana, and later is Jnana. It is all interspersed. Now think about like your children's textbook. Each chapter has got an introduction, main points, and summarization. Summarization and key points for each chapter are mentioned at the end of each chapter itself. You don't have to go to the end of the book. So similarly, this way. So now, what are this Karma Kanda is that I, as an individual, I want to attain happiness. This is the primary goal for everybody. For any individual, the goal is to get happiness. Now, it depends upon the level of maturity of an individual about what the definition of happiness is and how do I get that happiness. One who is not yet very wise, but who follows Dharma. So Dharma is the basic part. Okay. So what they want to do is that they want to get happiness either in this world or other world. In this world means Ihaloka, here on earth, or other world means Svargaloka. So in that case, Veda helps them. Says, come dear, you perform this puja, this type of a yajna or kratu, etc., and you will get your results. Some examples are like when Dasharatha Maharaja wanted children, he did Putra Kamishti Yajna. Yeah, Putra Kamishti Yaga. And he got his children right there. Dharmaraja performed Ashwamedha Yaga. He got his results. And then some people, then there are like some other yajnas called as Jyotish Tomam, etc., which will take someone to Swarga after death. So all of them can be done. But what happens is that when you go to Swarga or Naraka, nobody is permanent residents in either Swarga or Naraka. They have to come back. Now, when they come back, etc., this is taking one step up and coming back, step up, step down. This is not going anywhere. It's kind of a rat race in bigger reality. Then they want to understand who God is and they want to get closer to that. So when we want to get closer to God, that is what is called as Upasana Kanda. There you have teachings about how to get closer. Then when you get closer, then you want to understand the nature of God. Who is this God? What is this God? What is the relationship between me and God? What is this world? Is this world real? So these kind of questions come. So now these kind of questions come at a higher level of maturity. Okay. Even I do get those questions, but it doesn't mean that I am mature enough like that. Okay. So those questions at a higher level of maturity, when they come, Veda said, okay, let me help you with this aspect also. That is Jnana Kanda. And when someone follows the Jnana Kanda, they attain liberation, moksha, mukti. Okay. When they attain that moksha, there is no coming back. So when you go to when I have a desire and I perform a yajna and my desire is fulfilled, it doesn't mean that all my desires are fulfilled. My next desire is ready to sprung out. When I go to Swarga and come back, not that I may not go, some great Mahatma still goes to Swarga and come back, still he's back. But once you get to that liberation, there is no more coming back. So, depending upon the level of maturity, we proceed and we perceive we set up our goals. So whether you set your immediate near-term goals or medium-term goals or long-term goals, for all of those goals, Veda says, come dear, as long as you perform, you are dharmic in nature, I am going to help you and I am going to show you the way. So in this is how these three khandas are described. Okay. Karma Kanda, Upasana Kanda, and Jnana Kanda. Now, once those are explained, remember, what is the content of Vedas, how are they described, etc. Like that is, we talked about different types of sections, right? Now, like if you see demographics, we say demography. How can we divide a demography of, let us say, US population? We say, I don't know exactly, I'm just making up some numbers for example's sake. We say 49.5% men and 50.5% women are there. That is one way of slicing. The other way to say is 90% of people are poor and 10% of people are rich. That is another way of slicing. 30% of people live in urban areas, 70% of people live in rural areas. That is another way of slicing. Like that, smoking versus non-smoking, alcoholics versus non-alcoholics, people with one disease versus two diseases versus three diseases. Like that, we can slice and dice the same information in several different ways, right? In the same way, in Vedas, primarily, the content can also be understood as it is described in three different portions, okay? What are the three different portions? One is called as Samhita or Brahmana. Samhita or Brahmana are two different names for same section. Yeah, that is one area. And then second is called as Samhita. Samhita or Brahmana is one. And sorry, Samhita or mantra. Sorry, my bad. I apologize. Samhita or mantra is one. Brahmana is another. And finally, third one is called Aranyaka. Is the third. What it means is that in mantra portion, Vedas will give certain statements. Now, when these statements are heard, I don't understand those statements. So then I want certain details. And when those details are needed, those details help us to understand better, analyze, reflect, etc. That is called as Brahmana portion. And then finally, Aranyaka is where you actually can contemplate on, meditate upon, etc. So this is the Aranyaka portion. So this basically like what it is think about again a chapter, right? In a textbook, a chapter. The first paragraph of the chapter tells you that it introduces the topic and it summarizes that what this topic is going to cover. In maybe like like introduction, right? In like abstract or introduction. But what is the topic in detail is covered in the rest of the chapter. And finally, there are some conclusions. So in the same way here, the mantra portion is primarily about you listen some new topics that I haven't heard before. This is what we call as when I hear it for the first time, certain statements are made. That which I hear is what we call as in Sanskritam, in our Vedantic learning, it is called as Shravanam. So these mantra portions are closely associated with Shravanam and Brahma. And once you hear this mantra portion, what does it mean? How does it work, etc.? How is it possible? So those kind of analysis, Q&A, etc. Right? So where I can understand like with more detailed description is what we call as Brahmana portion. And now, say, for example, some of you, at least if not all of you, know, probably heard that you are God. Okay? Tattvamasi, Aham Brahmasmi. So that is hearing. Okay, that is Shravana. And then, how can I be God? Oh, let me tell you. And then the teacher, the guru explains why and how you are same as God. That is manana with all the details, etc., logic, etc., right? And try to answer all your questions. That is mananam. And then you're also doing mananam, as in like reflecting. Okay, how is that possible? Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah. I'm having a little bit challenges. Let me go talk to the teacher once again. Okay, now I got that. So like that, you understood clearly, logically. Okay, that is mananam. But then what happens is next morning when I wake up, yeah, he said something. I agreed for it, but I don't think I'm God. Okay, so that kind of a obstacle comes right from within us. And to overcome that obstacle, what we need to do is that we need to abide in that truth. This abidance in that truth is called as nididhyasana. In Vedic terms, it is aranyaka. So where they tell you to they give different types of meditations to meditate upon, to experience that oneness, to experience the truth of the statement that is said in mantra portion. Okay, so this is how mantra, Brahmana, and Aranyaka. So these are the three different portions of uh, Vedas. Okay. Now, that said, now we come to, because our topic is Kathopanishad, Upanishad. Why are you talking about this? Because we want to understand where is this Kathopanishad happening? Where is this Kathopanishad happening? This Kathopanishad is must be happening in a Veda. At least that part you must have guessed. And the Veda that is we are referring to, where this Kathopanishad has been is part of, is Yajurveda. Now, interestingly, Veda, Yajurveda has got two big portions, chunks. One is called as Shukla Yajurveda and other is called as Krishna Yajurveda. Now, some of you, if you follow Hindu calendar, in a month there are two fortnights. One is called as Shukla Paksha, other is called as Krishna Paksha. So the same terms Shukla and Krishna have come here. Shukla Yajurveda and Krishna Yajurveda. In Shukla Paksha, what happens? If you know, it is the rise of the moon, meaning like from Amavasya or some from new moon to full moon. That growth of the moon is Shukla Paksha. The other side of it is Krishna Paksha. So the Krishna is dark. Shukla. So that means that there is white Yajurveda, black Yajurveda, or dark Yajurveda. Now, there is a story around it that Yajurveda, uh, uh, this Yajurveda was taught to a great Mahatma, and while he was learning, it so happened that the teacher, whatever the teacher is teaching, the students couldn't get it. So that student, one of the brightest student, he was asked to throw up whatever he learned. And then when it is thrown up, all other students turned into birds and ate that. So what? It's kind of like our Vedas have some interesting symbolisms, visualizations, but in this case is that it is nothing but when the teacher taught, the teacher is at so high level that the students are unable to follow. So someone in between, a teaching assistant, like a person who is the smartest student, who understands, who could understand everything, but also understood the challenges the students below him, and he re-explained it. Okay, so that re-explanation portion is all called as Krishna Yajurveda. So this Kathopanishad comes from Krishna Yajurveda. Now we talked about, obviously this is Jnanakanda. Anything that we any Upanishad is in Jnanakanda. Then this comes in Mantra, Brahmana, and Aranyaka. This falls under Brahmana category. Okay, so that means that this text is going to give us lot to contemplate upon. In fact, this book is considered to have, Kathopanishad is considered to have 2 sections. Some people think that second section is later addition, but it is all about contemplation. So whatever is taught in part 1 has to be contemplated upon, and so more additional details are given because the nature of this is Brahmana text. Brahmana means, again, what is it? It means it helps with contemplation. Now this Krishna Yajurveda, it comes from Krishna Yajurveda, I said. Kathopanishad. Why Kathopanishad? Because sometimes if you see some text, it may also appear it as Katha Upanishad. So, and then some people actually think that because there is a story, because there is a story aspect in this Upanishad. Because there is a story in this, Katha is there, hence it is Katha Upanishad. That is not the case, it is Katha. Katha Upanishad. Why is it called Katha Upanishad? Is because, remember I told you that there are different shakhas in each Veda. So, recensions. So, Kathopanishad belongs to Katha Shakha of Krishna Yajurveda. And finally, this Upanishad has another name called Kathaka Upanishad. Okay, that is another name, Kathaka. Kathaka Upanishad is another name. Why is Kathaka Upanishad? Because it is attributed to the majority of this knowledge. The seer of this knowledge of this Upanishad is attributed to a Rishi named as Kathaka. So that's why it is also called as Kathopanishad. Now, we mentioned that in Vedas, Jnanakanda is there, right? So now across these four Vedas, among the recensions that we have available, how many Upanishads are there? That is the question, right? So if you think about all this 1100 or so recensions, 1130 to be exact, then how many Upanishads are there? Nobody knows because we lost 99% of our knowledge. But it doesn't mean that we lost 99% of our knowledge just because we lost 99%, because there are several repetitions that happen in multiple recensions. Okay, so we don't know how much we lost. It's not necessarily 99. It could be 90 or it could be 50%. But okay, it is definitely less than 99. So this, yeah. So in this Kathopanishad, so the what is it? Sorry, I lost my chain of thought. So Kathopanishad is coming from Brahmana portion, and it is Kathopanishad or Kathopanishad. Okay. Now, this, yeah, so we said now available among the available Upanishads, it is said that there is an Upanishad called Muktikopanishad. Muktikopanishad. This Muktikopanishad lists all other Upanishads that are available, and it says that there are 108 Upanishads. And it lists Kathopanishad also in there, of course. And it says that if someone is smart, if you're well-qualified student, for a well-qualified student, they can study one Upanishad and they are done. And that one Upanishad is called as Mandukya Upanishad. Now, if they studied Mandukya and they did not get it, then it says, you did not get that? Okay. So how about you read 10 Upanishads? And then it gives a list of 10 Upanishads. Okay, so they are Aitari Upanishad, Bruhadaranyaka, Chandogya, Mandukya, Mundaka, Taitriya, Katha, Ishavasya, Kena, Prashna, like the 10 Upanishad names it gives. So if you did not study, if you studied Mandukya and you got it, you're done. But if you're not qualified to do that, do this 10. If you're still not getting it, then do 108 Upanishads. This is the idea. Now, so because of that, what happened is, sage Vedavyasa, he wrote commentary, not commentary, but he wrote analysis on these top 10 Upanishads, not just one, but 10 Upanishads. Especially like this analysis is based on, this Upanishad says something and the other Upanishad says something else, and there may be a little bit of a difference, how to reconcile those two differences like that, right? So the compilation of that logical analysis of this entire Upanishads is called as Brahma Sutra. So one who has studied at least 7 or 8 of these Upanishads, they can go study Brahma Sutra, but it is very logical and it requires a lot of additional knowledge before we get out to Brahma Sutra. So now this Kathopanishad is one of those 10 Upanishads that Muktikopanishad mentioned, and it is one of those 10 Upanishads based on which Brahma Sutras are written. So because of that, what happened is, Shankaracharya ji, he wrote commentary or bhashyam on these 10 Upanishads. And as a result, in our tradition, when we say Bhashyakara, it means Shankaracharya ji. Now, Shankaracharya ji is a well-qualified master. So he wrote something. When he wrote something, there are certain challenges for people even to understand that. So then, one of his disciples, Anandagiri ji, he wrote Tika. Tika is essentially additional details on the Bhashya. So this called, so usually sometimes there's Anandagiri Tika also on all of these Upanishads. Then there are several other Mahatmas who wrote additional details to those Tikas also. They are called as Tippani. So Tippani is very close to English word tips, okay, to understand it better. So we are going to stay at the level of Upanishad and the Bhashya as I learned from my Guru Parampara. Okay, so that's what we are going to do. So any questions or comments before we move to the next section? So now each Veda has got a Shanti mantra. And so in Rig Veda, the Shanti mantra goes something like Vangmai Manasa Pratishtham, like that. And in Samaveda, the Shanti mantra goes like Apyayantu Mamangani, like that. For Shukla Yajurveda, it would be Purnamada Purnamidam. And Krishna Yajurveda, it is Sahana Bhavatu. And Atharva Veda, it is Bhadran Kanni Vishnuyama Deva, like that. Now, in the beginning of this session, we chanted Sahana Shloka. So that is the opening, the Shanti mantra of this Veda. So we are going to chant this mantra and then we'll look at the meaning of this mantra as well. So one of you please go off mute and repeat after me. Om.
Om.
Sahana Vavatu.
Sahana Vavatu.
Sahanau Bhunaktu.
Sahanau Bhunaktu.
Sah Viryam Karavavahai.
Saha Viryam Karavavahai.
Tejasvinavadhitamastu.
Tejasvinavaditamastu.
Ma Vidvishavahai.
Ma Vidvishvavahai.
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
So, this mantra, if you heard, Sahana Vavatu, Sahana Bhunaktu, Sahaviyam Karavavahai, Tejasvinavadhitamastu, Ma Vidvishavahai. There are 5 lines in there. So, remember, this is Krishna Yajurveda. Yajurveda is Yajus, we said. Yajus means prose. So, you will see a lot of prose in this uh, Upanishad, along with poetry as well, as in shlok, mantras as well. Talking about that, whenever you see any statement from Vedas are called as mantras. And any poetry from non-Vedic literature. So that means all Puranas, Dharma Shastras, or Itihasas, meaning Ramayana, Mahabharata, etc. All of them are called as shlokas. Now, um, some of you may know or may not know, but there are several mantras from this Upanishad are repeated by Bhagavan Sri Krishna as is in Bhagavad Gita. Now, when the same mantra, when it goes there, it becomes shloka. Okay, so remember that. So, mantra versus shloka. If it is from Veda, it is mantra. If it is outside of Veda, it is shloka. That's one. Now, you may also get a question like, if there is some mantra in here that Krishna repeated, so that means Krishna did have originality. Hold on to that question. I'll let you think and we'll address it sometime in future when we see a mantra like that. Okay. Now, Om. Now, whenever we start in our tradition, we utter the word Om, because Om is remembrance of the Lord. Om is the universal name of the Lord. In our Hinduism, we have several forms of divinity, meaning several forms of Bhagavan. Krishna is there, Rama is there, Mother Durga is there, Vishnu Bhagavan is there, Shivaji is there. How do you pray to any of them? If you want to pray to Lord Shiva, you say Om Namah Shivaya. You want to say pray to Vishnumurti, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Durgaya Namaha. Om Shri Hanumate Namaha. So whichever form of the God we take, first we say Om. That is the commonality between everything. So that God expresses himself. Even the word himself is wrong word. Okay? Because God, according to our Hinduism, Brahman is the ultimate form. That Brahman is beyond all forms. So when there is no form, there is no gender. Okay? But for our sake, we create a form and we pray to that form. And as a result, okay, so this God, this expression of this world is God alone. And this entire world is captured in this single syllable Om. Okay? It's simple. Now, this Om, when you first look at it, it has got three portions. Okay, that's let's say A, U, and Ma. No. In fact, there are certain schools, religious schools, they actually chant Aum to give importance to A, U, and Mu. But we stick to Om. Okay. Now, how is this universal? Yes, when we want to talk, when we open our mouth, the very first sound that comes at the base of our throat is A. And we talk for, like I'm talking for last 40 minutes or 15 minutes, okay? Talking, and eventually I shut my mouth. When I completely close my mouth, the last sound that will be M. Okay? And Now, there are like so many sounds are coming from my mouth, so many words are coming. If you are able to understand, some nice, interesting concepts are being formed in your mind. Otherwise, some word jumble you are experiencing and you're thinking, what is this guy talking about? All of that is happening. But so now to indicate that in between point is one sound that comes from top of our mouth. Okay, top means top of our this upper jaw. Okay, upper portion. So that sound where the sound that generates from the uppermost portion of our mouth is oo. So this oo and mu together becomes om. So what is that got to do with this? That anything and everything we speak in this world is within the realm of Om alone. A, U, Nu. Okay? Because we opened our mouth, made a lot of noises, and we closed our mouth. So, and all our discussion is something to describe that is happening in this world. And everything, anything that can happen in this world is described with this Om. And this entire world is nothing but the expression of that Bhagwan. So that Om represents everything in this world, and hence it is Bhagwan alone. Now, this is the first level of understanding of Om. Then we said A, U, and Nu, right? Now, our Vedas say, Mandukya Upanishad says, don't think that there are just three parts in Om, but there's a fourth part. It is not A, U, and Mu, but there's something else is there, which is more important. What is that more important portion other than this A, U, and Mu is, before you opened your mouth, what was there? There was silence. And when you closed your mouth, what was there? Silence. Okay. So there is a silence, and on top of the silence, there are some words that are being used. Some words are being spoken. Now, Upanishad asks us, what happened to that silence when you were speaking? Did silence run away out of the room and came back after I shut my mouth? No. That silence is always there, and these sound vibrations are there on top of silence. Why is this important is, and that silence, all the words that are coming, all the sound that is coming is from that silence and merging back into silence. Because you heard a word, where did it come from? Of course, you can say that it came from your speaker, computer speaker, but it emanated from silence. That sound came, and that sound merged back into silence. This is an important concept, is that silence is called as amatra. Amatra means where a syllable where there is no sound, soundless syllable. Okay. So now this soundless syllable, what it means saying is that just like everything is emanating, all sounds are emanating from silence and merging back into silence, anything and everything we see in this world are emanating from that God who is, all forms are emanating from that universal God, like and then staying there for a brief time, like ooh, and merging back into that God, like this what we call as Srishti, Sthiti, Laya. Creation, existence for a brief moment, and dissolution. This, and where is it creating from? Where is it originating from? That silence. Where is it dissolving into? That silence. So that base on which everything is coming from which everything is coming out, and into which everything is merging down, that is the real substratum. That is the base, that is the adhara for everything that is visible world. And that silence, that thing is that amatra, and that om, that is om. So this om contains all these four aspects. Okay. Now, then saha na sahana vavatu, we said. So this sahana vavatu is actually, saha is word 1, now is word 2, avatu is word 3. So this now and avatu together becomes navavatu. So sahana vavatu we said, right? That is saha now avatu becomes sahana vavatu. This avatu means may he protect. Okay, protection. Okay, may sahana avatu means protection. Saha means he. So may he protect. Om is the subject. So Om Sahana Avatu means may God protect. This now means both of us. Okay, so now means both of us. So who are being protected? Sahana Avatu means may he protect both of us. So who are the both of us? Both of us are teacher and the student. Both Guru and Shishya are to be protected. So, in Sanskritam, say in English, we have singular and plural. Whereas in Sanskritam, we have singular, dual, and plural. Dual is only 2. Okay, so this now is talking about the dual case. Okay? So here, avatu is the word, now is the object, saha is together. So may the Lord protect both Guru and Shishya together. So here, both the teacher and the student are being considered as one unit. Then, there is a lot more meaning to it, but I don't want to get into it right now. I will pause here to see if you have any questions based on what you heard so far, and then we'll continue the rest next Tuesday. Please feel free to ask any questions. If you are new to the subject, or if you did not understand any of the things that we spoke about. Yes, Manisha.
No, I was just going to say very well explained. So many things we didn't know, but yeah, you explained it very well.
Thank you.
How did they know that there was so much more to the Vedas than what is there today?
So this is, I mean, what happens is that after Vedas were written, our literature continued to exist and evolve, and there were so many mentions in the later texts about there are like this shaka is there, that shaka is there, in this shaka this is mentioned, in that shaka that is mentioned, like that, right? But then when we started looking for those shakas, we could not find those shakas. So that's how we knew that those shakas are lost.
Okay.
Venkatji, sorry to disturb you. I just wanted to know the name of that Rishi who's the originator of the Vedas.
Veda Vyasa.
Vedvyas.
Vedavyasa. Oh,
He is not the originator, he was the compiler of the Vedas.
compiler. Okay.
Yes. So he was also the author of all the 18 Puranas, including Bhagavatam, and he was also the author of Mahabharata also.
Okay.
Along
Thank you so much.
with us.
Venkatji, I have a question, please.
Yeah, please go ahead.
I was asking, you were saying that before we learn Brahma Sutra, we have to learn at least 8 Upanishads.
8 to 10, yeah.
Yeah,
8 to 10, yeah.
So any specific Upanishads before we...
Learn Brahma Sutras.
Yeah, any specific ones that you can suggest?
So, I mean, in the list of 10, top 10 Upanishads, right? In the principal Upanishads, we probably have to learn at least 8. I mean, like you may skip 1 or 2, but maybe the I don't know, like which Upanishad you can skip. I mean, if you skip any one also, you'll have challenges, but maybe like you can probably skip Ishavasya or some of one of the maybe skipped, but otherwise, pretty much all the Upanishads are to be known because there will be references to all the Upanishads, all these 10 Upanishads primarily in one way or other.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay. Yeah. And also you also need to know Tarka. Tarka is Nyaya Shastra, Tarka Shastra, which is the logic that is taught in or in those schools. Okay, Hindu philosophy. The logic that is taught in Hindu philosophy is different from the logic that is taught in West. So even though the term logic is used, they are like completely different. So the Nyaya Shastra or Tarka Shastra are also to be learned because there will be a significant amount of tarka will be used. Because of this logic, this is how this has to be applied here. Because of this logic, this tarka has to be applied here. This way it has to be understood and not that way like that.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So,
Question in the chat.
yeah. When we say have access to 1% of Vedas, are they existing in physical form somewhere? The thing is that it may or may not be existing. At least at one point it existed. But you know, like when invaders invaded India several times, several of them were intent on book burning and burning all the libraries, whether it is Hindu granthas or whether it is Bauddha granthas of Nalanda University, Takshashila University, etc. Many of those were burned down so many times. And then also that is one aspect. And second aspect is that as the rule of the invaders have come, the importance for significance or the value for our own Vedas have reduced for day-to-day life. So that is another reason why some people have dropped pursuing this knowledge. And remember, this knowledge was primarily come from Guru to Shishya to Guru to Shishya Parampara. If enough students weren't there, there is bound to be losses. Okay, so to what extent we have this availability, we don't know. In fact, there was in Bhagavad Gita, there is supposed to be so many commentaries. One of the commentaries apparently was written by Hanumanji himself. One of the earliest commentaries. Lord Hanuman, because Lord Hanuman was sitting on top of Arjuna's chariot when Lord Krishna was giving the Upadesha. Whereas other people could not experience all of this. Hanumanji, of course, again is a divine Mahatma. So he heard all of that and he wrote commentary on Bhagavad Gita apparently. And now it appeared to be that some manuscripts or the copies of manuscripts None of those copies are available in India, but they are available in either UPenn or, yeah, I think UPenn. Okay, so that in UPenn archives, library archives, they have access to those. So the thing is that some of these, back when the uh, foreign researchers, when they want to research, whatever copies that are available, they had taken with them to their home countries, and from there, what happened to them, etc., we don't really know. So we'll close now. पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ओम श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ओम. Thanks everyone. Have a great day, and we'll see you next Tuesday.